All right, so one couple things that Leland and I have started doing is Brix readings with the Brixometer, and what it does is it gives you a visual of the sugars in vegetation. And the reason I started using it, I don't totally understand it yet, but the reason I started using it was because every time I'd ask Rick Bieber a question, who's a mentor of mine from northern South Dakota, he'd always ask me, the first question he'd ask me is, what's the Brix reading? I'd have no idea, and I didn't even know what he was talking about. So we got one of these tools this last year, and now we take Brix readings of our vegetation. Mainly we use it, with Leland, we use it on our rangeland, but on our crop ground I use it on my oats and my winter wheat. And Rick always tells us if our Brix reading is high enough, we don't need to spray any fungicides. And on our operation, we're trying to get rid of herbicides and fungicides and any synthetic product that we can, fertilizers and that sort of thing. We're trying to wean ourselves away from them, which we've weaned ourselves away about 30% of our synthetic fertilizers so far. And we don't spray fungicides anymore on our small grains. And Rick always tells me two things to look at is if your Brix reading is high enough on your small grain, and if you look down above your small grains and if you don't see dirt, if your soils are covered, you're never going to have a problem with any diseases or that sort of thing where you have to spray a fungicide. So we take the Brix reading now and see if our sugar levels are high enough, and what it really translates is how healthy your vegetation is. You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to spin off that. So we were at a pasture walk yesterday south of Rapid City, and at the end somebody was asking, so is there any correlation between, on rangeland, any correlation between organic matter and a Brix reading? And I said, well, sort of. So we talked about the soil bugs. You know, there's the saprotrophic decomposers, and then there's the mutualistic soil bugs like the fungi and the bacteria. And so, like you say, when your plant is healthier and you extract the sap, so in this case we use brome grass as an example. We squeezed it with this vice grip, because it takes quite a grip to get some sap out of it. We dropped it on the refractometer, and then you look through the scope. And today the smooth brome grass secondary tillers reads a 9. If we had full sunlight between 12 and 3 o'clock, brome measures about 20 Brix. Now alfalfa, that's the only perennial we really have to compare to it, is usually Brix is at about 20 or above. So the amount of healthy sugars in that plant. How does that correlate back to organic matter? Well, where's the plants getting those sugars from, right? If we have good nutrient cycling and we have healthy nutrient cycling, John Kempf is a good one that explains this well, that once our soil biology is right, on rangeland we say once we have our rhizosphere restored back on our root systems and we have healthier soil microbiota, then our plants are healthier and the pests just are less present. There's probably less predators against our insects that are bad, and then there's just less of them because it's a healthier environment. Similar to a reason why some people use a compost tea or spray like a molasses on a crop is that it boosts the sugars and it detracts some of the bad insects don't like it. So healthier plants, but really because our soil organisms are right, providing the right nutrients to the plant. So I've had a Brix refractometer probably for over 10 years, but but I never really started using it till the last 2 years. And
Sorry, I gotta turn this back off.
Listen, if it's not you, it's me doing it. So I always tell people to check their phones, and then about halfway through the interview, mine goes on.
I had it off, I turned it back on when I had our break.
So I'd like to transition from the refractometer then to the soil sampling we did.
Yeah, but go over that.
Yeah.
So I've had this for.
Sure. Yep. All right. So I've had the refractometer probably for 10 years or more, but I didn't really have a lot of time to use it until the last 2 years when I got into my rangeland management specialist position. And so I've been measuring a lot more Brix on native species. trying to draw some conclusions to, is rangeland unhealthy based on the indicators and other things that we use, infiltration, rangeland health assessment, and things like that, as compared to something that we think is healthier just because it looks like it on the surface. And I don't have any good conclusions yet. In a nutshell, in the northern Great Plains, at least in South Dakota, our cool season and warm season native plants, Brix, if we're lucky, at the most 10, 3 to 10. Smooth brome grass, lead tillers, or mature secondary tillers will easily Brix 20 on a sunny day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when our natives aren't hardly making 10. Now, there's a producer I've worked with for over 18 years. We've learned together. He's younger than me. He's applied biological effective grazing management principles for 18 years. And so we went out there this summer. It was the middle of July, 1:30 in the afternoon, and we Brixed side oats grama, and I was really excited, and I had to put it on Twitter, is it Brixed a 13. And so I was really excited. It was a secondary tiller from side oats, and so that was really positive. He has some smooth brome grass invasion, but not like what Van has. And he's been working at the biological effective grazing for 18 months. His brome looks more sickly, and it's not spreading. His brome in that situation, that lead tiller, Brixed at about, I think it was 18. So it was less than 20, and I thought that was progress. So yeah, it's a measure of sugars within the plant sap. As a result, it tells us that our surface organic matter and our deeper rhizosphere soil organisms are creating that nutrient content so that we have higher sugars in the sap. Yeah. So to be more scientific then, based on research, we can soil sample rangeland at 0 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 24 inches, and we'd go deeper than that if we had enough money. But we like to go out and we measure for percent organic matter and mineral nitrogen the last week of May and the last week of June. By the last week of May, the soil organisms have produced most of the mineral nitrogen that they would at that point. You'd say, well, wait a minute, that's just the beginning of the growing season. But they're going to continue to do their thing through the summer. The difference between May and June is about the 1st of June on our native species at the 3.5 leaf stage and beyond is when we start getting active growth from our native species. And so they're using that mineral nitrogen, right? And the carbon, but we're measuring mineral nitrogen because that's what's the mycorrhizal fungi are producing the mineral nitrogen, so we have a good home for the bacteria and protozoa to live, and then they compete for nutrients. And so we measure those things. So we measured, this is the second year for Van on his rangeland, and what we're going to show here is then they have some hayland that they're going to start bale grazing on, and I don't know, why just soil sample those fields?